What's up, y'all? It's your man Tone Space, aka Poets Kane, back at you again. And we have a huge update in the Tupac murder investigation. Huge, groundbreaking. 27 years has this information being hidden, and it's just got revealed a couple days ago. Now, this is big, I'm telling you. Now, anybody that knows me personally, knows that I respect a good timeline. I love chronology of events. To me, a good timeline is something that could really best organize pieces to a puzzle. And if this Tupac murder investigation is anything, it is a huge puzzle. And I believe now a lot of the pieces are fitting into place. You feel me? Now, remember in the other video, and this goes along the line of what I'm talking about a timeline, right? Remember in the other video, I was talking about Keefe D's 2009 sit down with Detective Greg Kading, where he did what's called a proffer agreement, where for that sitting and for that sitting only, he was allowed to admit his role in the Tupac murder, and that information during that sit down cannot be used against him, right? Now, this is going to be very important because at that time, in 2009, at that sit down, there were 4 people that went on that hit. The driver, Terrence Brown, driver seat. Passenger seat, Keefe D. Right in back of Keefe D, his nephew Orlando Anderson. To the left of Orlando Anderson, Deandre Smith, aka Dre, aka Freaky. And when they pulled up, to the left of them was Tupac and Suge, right? Now this is important for the timeline. In 2009, now, I don't know, I'm not sure about Terrence Brown. If Terrence Brown was alive, he is deceased now. But it's not really important whether Terrence Brown was alive in 2009 or not. He may or may not have been, right? So let's just say he might have been deceased, right? Keefe D obviously was alive. His nephew, Orlando Anderson, had been deceased for about 11 years. And the guy to the left of Orlando Anderson, Deandre Smith, was alive in 2009. Since then has been deceased. I'm not sure. I think sometime between 2014 and 2015, right? So this is why this is important, because as you know, Keefe D's account was that his nephew Orlando Anderson is the one that was able to reach over Deandre Smith and roll down the window and let off the shots that killed Tupac and struck Suge with a fragment in the head. Right? However, recent information has now come out as of a few days ago. I believe sometime in July, detectives interviewed someone that was the former roommate of one of the Southside Crip members that was in the car. And what this Southside Crip, former Crip or current Southside Crip member had to say just changed the whole landscape of the whole situation. So he was the roommate of Deandre, aka Dre, Deandre Smith, aka Freaky. Now, according to this unidentified witness, he told investigators that Deandre Smith was actually the trigger man that shot Tupac on that night. Now, first off, I just want to touch on this again. Remember, DJ Vlad said he's responsible for cracking the Tupac murder case. Vlad's first interview, Keefe D started going on an interview run, repeating what he said during the proffer agreement from sometime in late 2019. And yes, he started on Vlad and then he went to other media outlets. However, sometime around February of 2018, there was a documentary on Tupac where they briefly interviewed Keefe D, and Keefe D implicated himself in the murder of Tupac Shakur on that documentary. Now, when did this murder investigation get reignited? And, to the current arrest of Keefe D, when did it start? They said it started restarted in 2018. Keefe D's interview in 2018 was sometime during early February. So, personally, I think it was Keefe D's first appearance since the proffer agreement on that A&E special that was on national or worldwide television. I think that is the catalyst that reignited the investigation. Because remember what I said about the proffer agreement, whatever he said during that agreement can't be used against him. However, if he speaks or does anything outside of that agreement, even if he repeats the same thing, it's quite possible that they could use that against him in the court of law. See what I mean about puzzle pieces? The investigation reignited in 2018. Keefe D started running his mouth 2018, right? Now, you also may ask, well, why did it take 5 years? Why did it take him until 2023 to actually arrest him? I got a theory on that too. You know, in 2019, about a year and some change after his 2018 TV appearance, like I said, he started an interview with Vlad, but then he went to other outlets and other outlets. So personally, I think what they were doing, just to make their case as solid as possible, I think they were saying like, look, Keefe D is giving himself a lot of ropes that he can hang himself with. He's just going from interview platform to interview platform. So I personally think the investigators just said, you know what, we're going to kick back and just let him keep hanging himself, or let him keep tightening the noose tighter and tighter and tighter. And then, you know, after a while, give him like a good 4 years of a big interview run. And then boom, once we got like 10 of them joints, boom, we could get him. That's personally why I think the investigation took so long from 2018 to 2023, right? Now, this guy Deandre Smith, let's get to it. Well, first let's recap what Keefe D said in his proffer agreement, just to summarize. They pulled up to Pac. They're on the right side of Pac and Suge. Keefe D says he handed the gun to Big Dre, the guy that was on the left back passenger seat. Dre got cold feet, so Orlando took the gun, was able to reach over Dre. They rolled the window down, and then Orlando was the one that started to get the shooting, right? Now, the witness that they interviewed sometime this year in July, former roommate of Deandre Smith, he actually says Deandre Smith was the trigger man. And his account of the details, to summarize it, went like this. They pulled up to Pac and Suge. Keefe D first handed the gun to Orlando Anderson, who was in the right back passenger seat, as he was the one that got jumped. Orlando Anderson couldn't get a shot because, according to the former roommate, Deandre Smith was anywhere between 370 and 400 pounds. So there's no way that Keefe would have been able to shoot out the window without hitting Deandre with a bunch of shells. Deandre was too big to just bend down and for Keefe to do it and keep him safe. It was just not possible. So at that point, Deandre is the one that grabbed the gun, rolled the window down, and got to shooting at Tupac and Suge. But as the rules of the streets and the rules of the Southside Crips go, you got to get your get back. Orlando Anderson got jumped. He couldn't go back to the hood empty-handed, so to speak. It's like, oh, you didn't get your lick back for what happened? Nah, we don't play that. He'd have been penalized to some account or whatever. So that's why they just all agreed, hey, because Orlando and Deandre were good friends as well. So they just agreed to run with the story that Orlando did. Way before the proffer agreement, just word of mouth on the street. Of course, they were trying to keep their mouth shut. They weren't talking to police and everything. But if any information leaks out, they wanted that information to be that Orlando actually did the shooting, so they could say he got his lick back, he could maintain or maybe even elevate his presence among the gang and all that type of stuff like that, where Deandre will just keep quiet and not talk about it, right? So I guess when 2009 hits, Keefe D is looking at it like, well, hey, Dre is still alive. Word in the street has been running with this story that my nephew did this all along. So you know what? Hey, I'm just going to run with that. I think I could get away with it. You know what I mean? And if anyone knows, like, because I was thinking about how he said he's like 370, 400 pounds. That fits with, like I said, them puzzle pieces, that fits with the two witnesses who I believe was Outlaws member Gaddafi and Outlaws member Edie. They said that they saw a beefy arm reach out the window and start the shooting. Now, I thought that was an interesting word, beefy. Like, even if somebody is big or has a little bit of weight on them, are you going to really describe their forearm as beefy? You might say it was big, it was muscly, it wasn't skinny or something like that. But beefy, in my opinion, is like an emotional type of word that would come to someone's mind. You know, they're thinking about food, like, yeah, it was a big arm, like a huge individual. Roommate says Deandre Smith was 6'6", anywhere from 370 to 400 pounds. He was his roommate. So if anybody has a good idea how much dude weighs, it will probably be his roommate. You know, they probably use the same scale when they go in the bathroom. Dude step on the scale, his roommate's like, hey, cuz, how much you weighing right now? Oh, dog, I'm up to like 385 right now. Oh, dog, you should try the keto diet or something. No, I love my spaghetti. I can't give up that. You know what I mean? His roommate would probably know better than just about anyone else other than the dude on the scale himself about how much he weighs. So I believe that depiction. So ain't no way some dude is going to be able to reach over a near 400-pound large individual and be able to do that. And someone that large, if they do expose their forearm to a witness, beefy is a word that's going to describe a huge arm. You feel me? So that's huge, right? Now, like I said, since they started the investigation in 2018, then to me it's obvious that they felt Keefe D just repeating what he said at the proffer agreement, even if he repeats the same story. They feel that's enough to get him, since it started in 2018. However, this new information that just came out, as I understand, July, the witness talking, that cooks him, because he broke the proffer agreement. He said Orlando did it, and now you have a witness that's saying, no, my former roommate, Big Dre, did it. So he is overly done. Now, how that's going to implicate Puffy, if they could tie him to it and everything, who knows? Puffy got money. But as far as Keefe D, he's cooked on 2 accounts. First account, repeating what happened outside the sit-down that he had in 2009. And number 2, contradicting information that goes directly against what he said. Now, I got to give a shout out to Gene Deal, because way before this new witness done spoke about Deandre Smith being the shooter, for a long time, just using his common sense, former bad boy, Puff Daddy bodyguard Gene Deal, been believed that it had to have been Big Dre that did the shooting. So let's hear why. Let's hear from Gene Deal himself. Shout out to the Art of Dialogue.
I feel you, man. So when it comes to, who shot Tupac, right? You still believe that Orlando, he wasn't the one.
Man, I go by what the witness say who was there, not what somebody come out 10 years ago and make up. If Gaddafi, if was the other young gentleman from the Outlaws say they saw a big black arm come out the window, it was only one big black person in the back of that car, according to Keefe D. Big Dre.
So why do you think Keefe D is lying and putting the blame on, Orlando instead of Big Dre? Because they both dead. So, does it really matter?
Who did he put the shooting on first, brother? Keefe D put the shooting on Orlando first, because Dre and Orlando was living. When they got to Keefe D, Dre was dead. Had Dre...
He kind of messed up what he meant, because he's going to clean it up. What he meant was that at the sit-down of the proffer agreement, Dre was still alive. You're going to hear him clean it up. It was just a little, slip of the tongue, a little mess up.
Still been alive, and Keefe D went under that thing. Do you think Keefe D would have said Dre, if Orlando was alive, do you think Keefe D would have said Orlando did it? He wouldn't have said that. That's his nephew, that's his family. He wouldn't have went out like that. He put it on the dead man. Dre died after Orlando.
There we go. And after the proffer agreement.
You understand? All these cases in California, they try to put it on a dead man. It's easy to solve the saying that the dead man did it. Keefe D said it because Orlando was dead. But if you talk to the people in California, you talk to his family, Orlando didn't do it. Dre was bragging about it. But Keefe D...
Now that I didn't know. He said Dre was bragging about it. Now I never heard that. I heard Orlando was the one bragging about it. Because the whole idea of Dre being the shooter, as far as word of mouth from the streets from the 90s all the way up until recently, I never heard that one before. So unless he made a slip of the tongue, that's new information to me. Dre bragging about that he did it.
Made a deal. So he has to stick with what he told them.
Yep. All right, let's roll another clip. Gene Deal, once again, shout out to Art of Dialogue.
And that's when Pac appeared to be reaching to one of the guns that Suge had back in the drop box, and that's when Dre lit his ass up.
When you say Dre, right, it's hard for me to keep going on with the interview when you say Dre is the one that lit up Tupac, because everybody believe Orlando is the one that shot Tupac. So you really do believe that Big Dre is the one that was behind shooting Tupac in Vegas?
Man, I believe it was Big Dre who did it, because the dude, you gotta go by who said what right after the incident. They said a big black arm came out the window.
Beefy, they actually said.
You gotta go and see what Keefe D first said to the people, bruh. Keefe D said he handed Dre the gun, and Dre said, nah, man. You understand what I'm saying? Because Dre was alive then. Dre was alive. Everybody was alive then when Keefe D gave that statement. Everybody was alive except Orlando. So he had to put it on Orlando. Because you put all the on a dead man. Because there's no way Keefe D, being the boss that he was back then, that you're going to give a gunman or somebody who's supposed to be a gunman a gun and he going to tell you no. And he's still going to get in the car with y'all? You better get on the bus.
That makes perfect sense to me.
There's no way you going to ride with us. And then you got to realize Keefe D also made a statement that Pac seemed like he was reaching for a gun. And he...
All right, we got the relevant parts. Basically, shot caller tells one of his men to do something. How's he just going to say he got cold feet? That'll be worse than Orlando coming home empty-handed and not getting his lick back. Cold feet, what you talking about? He probably been DP, disciplined or something. Now, let's roll this little bit of clip of, like I said, the very first appearance outside of the proffer agreement that I know of, where Keefe D was running his mouth about what happened. I'm just going to come to this part because this is very interesting. I want you to just really gauge Keefe D's reaction. Again, Keefe D in the proffer agreement said Orlando Anderson did the shooting. So he has to stick to that. But listen to this questioning and listen to how he reacts to it. Check it out. Play it.
You said the shots came from the back. Big Dre, Orlando. Who shot Tupac?
To keep it for the code of the streets. It just came from the back seat, bro.
See, he's a little nervous. He didn't want to say because he knows Dre is the shooter. He knows in the proffer agreement he said Orlando did it. I've been said that I don't think he's really that too bright or that crafty. So it's kind of like he got nervous. He's kind of like, oh, well, I said that Orlando did it. I'll get arrested if I say some more other shit. So you know what? Keep the code of the streets, dog. You know? Now this one right here, this one to me just tells everything. This happens to be, if I'm not mistaken, Keefe D's last interview prior to him getting his house raided and getting arrested. Also, by the way, of all the dialogue. Shout out to him. He's been doing great interviews with anybody related to the Pac situation or Tupac in general. So salute to him. Now, to me, this little clip is the most telling out of everything. I'm just going to let you hear it and then we'll talk after. Check it out.
Yeah.
How you feel about the people that feel like Big Dre, he shot Tupac? Because you did make a confession some years ago, man, and you said that you gave the gun to Big Dre, but he got cold feet. So Orlando, he ended up snatching the gun and shooting Tupac.
No.
Freezing up, man.
Was Big Dre like that? Was he capable of doing that? Was he a shooter?
Them dudes was kids, man. Both of them dudes was kids right there. They was kids, dude.
Both of them dudes was kids, man. They was kids, dude. It's kind of like a distancing answer. Like, I'm not going to get specific. Those dudes was kids, man. But that answer doesn't make sense. Because he didn't just say Dre was a kid. He wouldn't have done that. He was just a kid. He's innocent. He ain't into that street shit. He said both them dudes, meaning Dre and Orlando. But if he said Orlando's the shooter, then obviously one of those dudes that were kids has the potential to murder somebody. You see? But it's just him trying to, like, back himself away from the situation because he's kind of freezing up. He's not really good on his toes as far as, he gives himself away. Blinks 1,000,000 times a second, shit like that.
The dude's a kid. Dre was an all CIF basketball player, dude. You know what I'm saying? Big Dre was an all CIF basketball player.
And what does that mean?
Nice shot, all that shit. Dunking, all that shit.
Oh, he had all types of nice shots.
Dre was an athlete.
Them
dudes was athletes, dude. You know? They wasn't about that, you know? Yeah. Back then, Dre was a... Yeah.
So he'll pull the trigger.
Man, we already discussed that. Would you trying to get me in jail again?
Why would he say, would you try to get me in jail again? Why would he say that? Why would he say that? If Orlando Anderson is the shooter, and he's sticking to that story, and that is the actual truth, and just, all right, somebody suspecting Big Dre, so what? You know Orlando did it, so Dre wasn't the trigger man. His heart's beating a mile a minute at this point. He's like, what, you trying to get me in jail again? Basically telling on himself. Like, oh, you want me to admit the actual truth that Dre did it? Because if I do that, it's going to get me in jail again. Because in the proffer agreement, I said Orlando did it. And if I say anything otherwise, it's going to ruin that whole situation. So that clip was the most compelling out of all of them. But Gene Deal, great job. Because for a minute, he's been saying that he suspects Big Dre was the shooter. And then, like I said, timeline. That's why I respect the chronology of events. Everything is fitting into pieces. They saw a big black beefy arm. Dre was super big. It would have almost been impossible for Orlando to have gotten that shot from that seat. Keefe D's mannerisms when he's approached with this stuff, him freezing up, doing all this and this and this, and not knowing how to react. So there you have it. I could never say I know 100% what happened. But I am leaning way heavy to the Keefe D and them shot him, and that Big Dre was the trigger man. Remember, this is a grand jury indictment, so this new witness that they hollered at a couple months ago, why would he lie about something like that? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's currently locked up, if they're going to give him a deal, they're going to let him out, or if he's just a witness that's been holding this information, want to get it out, who knows? But to lie, what would he have to gain lying, saying Big Dre did the joint? You feel me? So he'll have plenty to gain if Dre is the actual shooter. And, but then someone could say, oh, well, he could just be making that up just so he could get out of a jam that he's in because it's it's totally different, or jam Keefe D up. But all you got to do is read people. Look how Keefe D reacts when he's approached with the Dre thing. Look at the common sense. How could Orlando have gotten that shot to the left side with a big 370 to 400-pound dude in the way? Makes a lot of sense to me. Y'all tell me what y'all think. And we're going to wait because supposedly they're going to come out with more videos, more pictures of Tupac. I don't want to see any dead body pictures of him. They saying that they got that, unseen pictures and stuff like that. Hopefully nothing like that gets exploited. But it's going to be very interesting. What I might do a little audio reenactment as the transcript of this witness that has put Big Dre out there. It's online somewhere. I'm looking for it now. And if I can find it, I might do a quick little audio reenactment, almost like an audio book, of the transcript, the minutes of this new witness. So, Tone Space, Poets King, shout out to anybody watching this, YouTube, Rumble, wherever you're at. Like it, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But Big Dre, not Orlando Anderson, Deandre Smith, a.k.a. Dre, a.k.a. Freaky, turned out to be the shooter of Tupac. It's crazy, y'all. I'll catch y'all later, though.